So today starts and you can't make this stuff up. I saw a sale in the paper on office chairs at Staples. I decided it's time to upgrade my poor computer, the poor chair, with this beautiful chair. And check out when you get these things. Look at this. Can you believe this? There's 1,000 pieces. Ay, 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 ay. Wow. All kinds of Zeus fittings, and soon it'll be a chair. And then we can start. And I'm looking forward to starting today. I want to put those arrows on those parts. So I just wanted to mention something. It's worth mentioning. This is a chair I've had for so many years. I've edited from that chair, and you can see it's taking a beating. I actually have socks up over the arms because I wore the arms out. I wore the seat out. Look at this, from track days. Look at that soft rubber. I wore the back out. I wore everything out. But now my editing will improve 100%. Look at it. Look how nice and big and fluffy that chair is. Holy mackerel. And if you think it's easy to put together, just go buy one. Anyway, they had a sale at Staples. They were 40% off. Bonded leather seating. I wonder what that means. Anyway, be prepared for about an hour of fun with an Allen wrench getting it together. But once you get it together, it reclines. My editing will improve. My coffee drinking. I'm not sure what else. Hey, anybody that's a modeler will know when you have a piece of equipment like this, it's been around for 20 years, and I'll bet 2,500 to 3,000 videos have been edited from that chair. That chair is a piece of we used to call it stunt history. Well, you know what? It's time to retire it. Now, just for anybody who doesn't really know, I had this spare old TV, the spare old whatever the hell it is, a 40-inch, 50-inch, I don't even know. And John Pothier and Art Conklin set it up like an editing monitor so I can edit from this station. And boy, is it nice having that in the shop. That is really nice, in fact. Anyway, just some thoughts. If you got an old 50-inch TV around, why not make it a computer monitor? Save your eyes. But you notice my glasses are right there. So what does that tell you? This, some truth in advertising here. So the chair is done, and we can start our day's work. So it's wonderful having that new chair. It's as comfortable as could be. It reclines. Coffee tastes better in that chair, but I'll tell you where coffee really tastes good. When you come out and you check out your parts, they are just, that is a trip to K Jewelers, baby. Oh my God. Now I'm going to leave them in the garage. Maybe one more day. They really dried up great. Boy, did we take advantage of a very special painting day there. Wow. Oh my God, are they going to buff out? When a paint is that smooth, that laid down like glass. It's unbelievable. Anyway, it's time. I got to have my coffee. There's just no way about it. It's time, but we do have a new chair, and I don't know what to say. I'm happy about it. That chair was a real piece of YouTube history. So the first thing I want to do here, I want to make sure this has no little imperfections here, and it shouldn't. I want to just get an idea now because we're laying this out. This is the pattern we came with. Alright, so that should be pretty cut and dry, masking that out. But again, we had a pattern for every piece on this, so it just makes it a lot easier. And one thing the pattern is really good for, the patterns, is to get these symmetrical, of course. Just makes it a little bit easier if you have a decent pattern. Every day is Christmas here in Wendy's shop. Every day is Christmas. There's never a time it isn't Christmas.
It's wonderful.
It's wonderful, you're right. Now one part of this is going to be really critical. When I backmask this, because I'm going to be painting a metallic, I want everything backmasked. And because it's black, because what will happen inevitably, any metallic paint is going to leave little sparkles in that black if some gets underneath. And obviously I don't want it. But I'm going to do a really meticulous job of backmasking here because this part is black, number one. I want everything covered. I really don't want to compromise. Actually, I don't want to compromise anything on this. I want to make sure everything is covered. And of course, I always try to thank our late friend Walt Prey. This is such a good method. And it's worked so good, both in modeling and in doing this kind of work. And Walt, we're still thinking of you. Anyway, just a routine thing to backmask all these parts. Then I want to prep this little area. Maybe I'll just touch it with some 2000 grit paper. Make sure there's no dust in it, because that gold this is going to be one of the things you see when you stand by the motorcycle. Now, another little backmasking tip I've shown many times: when you have a little complex shape like this, it's hard to get two pieces of material in there. Not impossible. If you press down on the tin foil, and this is what makes tin foil so nice to use, I can see the impression of where the tape was, and so the outline of that I want to backmask. So if I'm real careful, I can just make the job just a little bit easier here. And what that's going to do, that's going to allow me to have that flap covered in there without having a lot of extra joints and everything right at that little focal point where I want it. One of the goals of course of doing any of this is to get the minimum amount of tape touching the fresh paint. This is really not that fresh, but now see, this is the thing. I'm just going to be ultra careful here. I don't want to get anything out onto the black, because again, once it's in the black, now see, I want to get these corners down with what little fingernails I have. By the way, that chair, what an upgrade that was. Wow. And that sale is supposed to go to the end of the month at Staples. 40% off. Too bad they don't have coffee at 40% off. Okay, so that basically, I got to do the other part, and we'll be ready to do some airbrushing. The last little step that I think might be totally overkill, but just in case there's anything that's going to stick up in that gold is going to be actually black and gold. You probably couldn't pick two harder colors to paint. If you painted everything white and flat black, you could paint in a closet or something. Anyway, that's ready to go. We just got to backmask the other part. We'll be ready to paint. So what's really worthwhile here is, now I can see them, that they are mirror images. I've checked with the pattern. They're pretty accurate. In fact, they're very accurate. And to have everything covered that's Bentley black, because that black, if we get any metallic paint, even silver, gold, especially this gold, I don't want to have, because I'm going to need 3 coats, maybe a 4th coat. I'm going to airbrush it on. That'll allow it to sit flat. And, well, what I'm hoping is going to happen is I'm going to get real nice edges on this. Let me just give you an example. The edges on this, when I finish that and put the clear on, they're just, you take your finger, you cannot feel where that edge is. And that's not even buffed. It'll even get better when it's buffed. So in the meantime, I brought in all the parts from outside. They're ready to cure. They'll sit under a heat vent 2 or 3 days before we do anything with them. And once I get this gold painted, I absolutely am going to be doing my little test on the 650 logo, because I got rubber cement. At last I got it. So I did get this, and this is really old school. I can remember doing this 15, 20 years ago in modeling, and pretty much everybody that's a modeler knows how to do that. I don't know if it's going to be appropriate on this, but what I'm going to try to do is use one of these, and this is just printed on ordinary office paper. And then what I'm going to try to do is the little test panel we made that has the exact finish that's on the other parts, and I'll try to just put a little logo up there, and then the next time I clear over it, if it's worth doing, just to see how that's going to play out. I'm excited to see that. And it's funny, I don't know why, I always like when you can use some old school technology from the Stone Ages to make your project come to life. And boy, I've said it again. If you could see how nice that paint laid down yesterday. Woo! Boy, we hit a banner day. That was a day. You don't get a lot of days like that here, but that certainly was one of them. Now we're going to use our trusty Iwata airbrush, and boy, if you only knew how many things this is painted. Like that chair that that edited 2,000 videos with my behind in it. Well, this airbrush has stood the test of time. I do not, to be honest, I don't even remember how long ago I got it, and it's unbelievable how reliable that's been. And even the cord, I don't even think I've ever bought an extra hose for it. But that's one of the key things we've been using over the years, the Iwata airbrush. Whenever I use an airbrush, I always put a little bit of the paint that I'm using in a smaller jar, because you got to constantly refill an airbrush, of course, and when you're doing that, if you got a gallon container. But I also want to show, this is the gold we mixed with the pigment, and there's a video for anybody interested in seeing that on a previous one. And by the way, today is the day we're 1 month into this restoration. 1 month. Anyway, look, in 1 month we got quite a bit done. But anyway, really important with any metallic paint, especially when you haven't used it on several jobs. This is the whole scenario. Every time I go to refill the airbrush, I'm going to put the lid on, shake, shake, shake Sonora, and you'll see if I'm going to try to show this, if you look at the bottom, why we always use glass jars and not cans for doing this kind of stuff. And thank you, Turbo Steve, for bringing all those jars over here. At some point in time, you can see it starts to get clear on the bottom. That's because all the pigment is in suspension. And if this is something you have to do religiously with any metallic paint. Okay, we're right up at the point. I can almost see the bottom of the jar clear. And we'll be ready to airbrush. One more shake. Okay, we're ready to paint. It's totally amazing. It looks like it's going to be a wonderful day for painting. I'm shocked. Usually this doesn't work out so in my favor so quickly, but anyway, wanted to show. That's why this little jar, so handy. And we'll probably have to do that 3 or 4 times, but it won't matter. Yeah, what airbrush. This is really one of the good tools I have in the shop. Now, there's a couple of things here. I'm going to try to get 3 coats of gold on there. That's the goal, and I'm going to let it dry overnight. But I want to be able to put it next to that gold. Yeah, it's perfect. I'm not sure you see these colors on the video. When I look at them, even on my big screen TV, they don't look exactly the same. But this color gold is unbelievable. That pigment that I got from Amazon is just to die for. Anyway, we have to do the same thing. Now, these are going to dry overnight. I'm going to get 3 coats on. Even though that looks like it's gold and it's all set and it's no problem, I want to get 3 coats on that. I don't want to fool around. And then we pull it off. I hope we get some real nice tape edges. That looks like it's going to be fine. So as always, the whole trick with everything is to get everything up by a heating vent. It's a little above freezing. It's certainly, and the wind is blowing, which makes it a pain in the neck. But that absolutely, if I look at it, and the thing is, once the heat kicks on, that'll dry that right up. We'll be able to get 3 coats on in probably in less than an hour, about 20 minutes apart. And I think realistically, we worked out a good formula here. The formula is 3 coats, 20 minutes apart, dry overnight. I think that formula is going to work great for us. It's Christmas time with Karen. What are we going to do today? We're going to decorate the house some more. Oh, what a day. So while everything's drying between coats, time for another cup of coffee. So this worked out really well. We did a little more decorating, as if there would never be an end to it. There's never an end. Yeah, that's drying up. You can hear the heat. I don't know if you can hear the heat. You can feel it right here. That's one thing good about an old house. It's like having your own private baking oven, and it goes 24/7. It'll shut off in July. The real downside of doing this is you got to constantly be filling this because it's a small cup, but well worth the extra effort. And if you look back over the videos that when I even did the wheels with the airbrush, yeah, it was a little extra work. You go look at the wheels out in the garage now, the wheels are perfect. We're after helping Karen for a while with her decorating things, which seem to never end. That's dried up, but now what's good is I'm trying to take advantage of the fact I have gold in the airbrush already, and I've already got a really good match on these parts. The gold looks tomorrow, the next day I'll have clear on that, and then I can get a real accurate match. But I think we're really close right now. We're as close as we're going to get it. Here we are back at the cutting pad, and I have the vinyl to be tested later. Put that aside. I have the Kawasaki, but I don't want to do the Kawasaki yet. This I already have, and some of this extra material. This is the material John supplied. I have another Kawasaki sheet. Here's what I want is the 650. Now I thought this would be worth doing. This is ordinary paper, just ordinary office paper. What I'm going to try to do, and I'm not sure, you know what I did, I bought another one of these little knives at Harbor Freight, thinking maybe this would be one of the choices I have. You know, what's surprising is a lot of stuff from Harbor Freight is really, like an example is the pop goes the weasel here. Some of the stuff, and it looks like this knife might be one of them. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. First, I got to figure out how to use it. Now I have one of these in a row. I wanted to try this, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to. You know what? It goes out the other side. Who says he can't figure this out? And of course, what this is, you break the tips off. Again, I don't know. I got to take a piece of paper here. Let me take this piece of paper that John tried to play a mean joke on me. Oh, that cuts really good. I like to test everything because you never know when you're going to find something that really works, and you never know when you spend $40 for something that doesn't work at all. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take one of these. In fact, I don't need to take the whole thing. I'm just going to take part of it. I'm just going to take a part of this. In fact, I can be very generous about this. I don't need to be cute. I'm going to try this knife and just see. This is just for my own information to see how sharp this really is. It's the curves that get tricky when you start cutting something like this out. But for sure, ordinary paper usually cuts pretty reasonably anyway. Famous last words. John also found on the internet one of the knives, and I don't have it here, that have a like a swivel end on it, which may be appropriate at some point in time. Well, not to put an hour on video, but that looks like it's cutting pretty decently. And again, I don't know. I'll try both, and I'm not married to either one of them. And I have some extra blades, so we'll cut out our little test piece, and then I'll show this rubber cement method. So here's a couple of the things that help. Making a picture frame out of masking tape just makes it more stable, of course. Now, and I can see this is kind of, the test piece, my test piece is not big enough to put the whole R on. So this will have to do for now. Now, and I'm going to cut the little pieces out that go in here, of course. Now, the next part is to put the rubber cement in place. Now, what's funny about this is, because I haven't done this in so long, I'm sure I've not been good at figuring out. Look at this, they even have to have a child-proof thing on a rubber cement, so kids don't eat rubber cement. I thought it was only model airplane glue they did that stuff to. I guess I'm wrong. Anyway, this is a skill that pretty much every modeler in the world has. And I have to renew my skill. That's the problem. That's a brand new thing of rubber cement. I'm not trying to use up the stuff from 10 years ago. The idea of this is to put on a coat of, well, let's just see how far, we'll do it right in the middle. Put on a thin coat of rubber cement. Now on models, the reason this works so well is because the balsa wood is usually pretty soft, and I want to try to get a thin, I'm thinking there might be a better way I could put this on. Maybe not. I can hear some of the modelers that have been doing this over the years have probably gotten real good at it. Okay, now at some point it starts balling up and then you're done. You can't do anything with it now. Now you're married to it. So now we have to take this piece off. Again, this is why you test this. And by the way, I can already see that just in 2 days that I've had a little bit of more comfort with my knife skills. Look at this, I ripped this already. Oh my God, what a mess. Okay, so I see this is a problem. You can't, that's not going to be practical to do it that way. And we could work around that, but I'm not sure this is going to work exactly as I want. But you never know, that's for sure. Now, the nice thing about this is you can reposition it a few times. Okay, so I've got to keep in mind the picture frame can't, when you pull it up, I've got to be able to, see, that's how you learn this stuff. Nobody is born knowing anything. That's the beauty. Okay, now, and I'm just thinking, I got to cut these two pieces out. I'll do this off camera because I got to cut the piece. See how prepared I am? We'll be prepared for what? Try to show this up close. The thing you have to do here, using this method, you've got to press, everything's got to be pressed down because the glue is not real sticky. But watch what happens. If you take your clean finger, you can just wipe it up where you're going to want the paint to be. You ball it all up. It comes up like chewing gum. I'm not sure you can see that, but you got to be real careful. Now there's another nice little advantage of using this method. I'll just do one. Let me get it all off all these letters. I wanted to show a couple of tricks you can use that I've used in the past using this method, but we're always looking for something better, that's for sure. But I always also like to have choices. I don't want to be I only have one way of doing things. Okay, so I got I got all of the rubber cement off where the paint is going to be. Now, this is a nice advantage. If you have a brand new blade, and I see I have a little bit of correction to make on this, I can just peel that right away. I see a little bit of correction I can make on there. Now, again, I'm being fussy. And I don't want to make this, I don't want to spend all day doing this. This is just a test. And I'll put a little piece of tape there and there just to see. Now I can see if I had a A way of doing this, if this were a real thing, I'd take a ruler and go right down here. Anything that's a straight line, see, I can pick that little piece up. So I can make little corrections right up to the point I'm going to airbrush it. And the trick would be, this one I know, maybe I already did this one. The trick would be, look around, and this would be the point at the job where you'd want to really be fussy and not go through into the material underneath, the fiberglass or the plastic or whatever. But boy, does this give you a lot of, for me it brings back a lot of memories. I did a lot of stuff this way. If you only knew on those model airplanes in my little museum upstairs how much time went into this kind of work. The amount of hours, and you can't even count it in terms of hours, but now in the worst of all worlds, you can do this if you can just put that piece right. I think we'll do that, in fact, to see how that works. Because your eye is usually pretty good at picking up straight lines. It really doesn't pick up curves as well as straight lines. So, and we have a real test piece now, and I'll aluminum foil over this so we don't see it. That, I can't wait to go spray this. So with it all backmasked, the key part of this is not to let this sit overnight now, is to get out and spray it. And I don't know if I remember right, and my memory from 15 years ago is not that good, of course. Not for this afternoon, it's not that good. But I do remember you didn't want to let this sit overnight. You want to go out and spray it. Now, believe it or not, for an old school method, that it does look like it worked pretty well. Anyway, of course, before we do anything, this has to dry overnight. That's an overnight dry before I pull up the stencil. Okay, one final little test, because I do have a little bit of time here. This will be the final test for the day. I'm using this spray adhesive Elmer's that I bought. We still have material coming from John that I want to wait for before I make a final decision on this, but this is the Word, the Kawasaki, and I thought this would be something I can do. I'll explain what I want to try to test here. The whole test of this is the stuff we made the patterns for the arrowheads. And what I thought I'd try to do is put some of that spray adhesive on here, because that's kind of a sticky, tacky thing. Glue it down there and see if I could cut through both of these at the same time reasonably. Now, again, I won't know until I try this. So now what I did, because this is contact cement really, I pressed it down. I gave it about 10 minutes to dry. And I'm going to try a couple of different things that I think may or may not work. Again, by cutting, now Kawasaki has a lot of straight lines. So maybe this is one of the things I can do and have a little straight edge type of thing here. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to cut through the shelf paper. Now we've used, in modeling, used shelf paper for forever really. I don't know if this is going to result in a nice clean edge, or because if the edge is too high, you get a big paint buildup there. But our gold paint seems like 3 airbrush coats don't leave a terrible edge that you can't knock down and bury and clear. And I'll try this. You know, success, I think success is measured by, not by some of the things that work, but by eliminating things you know don't work. Now, this peeled up relatively easy. I'm not sure now, see, because here's the whole thing in a nutshell. I don't know if I'm going to be able to peel. Once I do that, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Actually, it looks like it worked pretty good. But that's cheating, because that's all, see what that is? That's all straight lines. But then Kawasaki, let's see. The wider blade, that Harbor Freight blade, seems like it cuts pretty well, but it doesn't go around corners the way I want it to. So you know what I'm going to do, just because I'm curious, and I know curiosity killed a cat. But in my case, there's another thing that motivates me, is I always like to learn. Now what this would do, if I could make this method work and make a nice stencil, what this will allow me to do is just print things on my printer from John. We don't have any postage involved or anything. Not that that's a be-all end-all, but it's always nice if you can eliminate some steps there. Boy, does this bring back memories of the days of modeling and making all those, holy mackerel. Those models that are upstairs, I'll bet I made 100 of them over my lifetime. And every one of them had stencils and tape and ink lines, and wow, a lot of good memories. Now, and I wanted to show this without a camera cut, because a lot of people, and I know that that's how they want to see it, you know. It's nice if you can just fast forward through stuff. It's nice if you don't forget to cut one side here. But it's really nice. Now this has given me a lot of confidence that this will be my fallback method, even if, in fact, I like this method because the vinyl really leaves a nice edge. So that's another thing. Now, I did not realize this was going to work this well. And John will probably be happy to hear this. I'll just pull this up so I can show him what that edge looks like. I'll take a picture of this and mail it to him. That's, I gotta show this up close. Wait a minute. I don't want a camera cut on this either. I want this to be live. Live from New York City. Yeah, that's pretty good. I have to admit, that method worked better than I thought it would. Now, what's really left on this, because I'm kind of cheating doing all these nice straight lines, but I'm just going to do, and I know among the people watching these videos, some people have no interest in this at all, and they just would rather watch MotoGP or whatever. Now, because this is a curved letter, there's almost no straight sides to it. This will be another test, and boy, John will be thrilled to hear that this is working this good, because we really want to get this Kawasaki thing for the tank. That's something your eye is going to see right away if there's mistakes in it. I have a feeling this will work when I actually do a real one, and I put a brand new blade in and everything, and have 2 extra cups of coffee and whatever. I have to tell you, that's amazing. That's amazing to me how nice that came out. I would never have thought that that would be a reasonable way to do this. That looks pretty good. So ultimately what I'm going to do when this dries tomorrow, pull it off and put the couple of words from Kawasaki down here. Then I can compare. And I have one space up here for John's material he's sending. And the biggest thing, he's sending some ink pens. So what happens when you get a little mistake in black, you can just go just like a razor blade edge. And of course you can't do that if it's a color you don't have ink for. So this was the surprise of the day that this worked. This absolutely blew me away. I can't tell you. And maybe I just don't remember that this works so well in modeling, but that for sure is going to be now the fallback method. And in fact, you can just, with your fingernail, I wanted to show this, you can just peel this paper up and it leaves a perfect mat. If we had lettering with all straight lines, you could do it, it'd be perfect. Well, even though, and I always say, when really good artwork requires a lot of little touch-ups, and you don't see it when you watch these car shows and they paint the car, and but then when the camera's off, they go in there touching up, and they're fixing them, believe me. So because this day was so successful today, I thought I got one other thing that I've wanted to do, and I can give a little demo on this. Well, this is not a big high-tech thing, but it's something I know everybody that owns a motorcycle with a windshield would be interested in. It looks like we beat the system a little bit today. It wasn't supposed to rain, but it's just starting to drip and drool. Now I have two windshields for the bike. I have a high windshield that comes up about 2 inches higher, which it's nice, but it doesn't allow you to shoot good video. This one does shoot good video, and it over the years, of course, it's taken a real beating. And because we've ridden this bike through salt, behind people that are kicking up stones, among other things. So what I thought, I have about an hour left in the day before I'm going to settle in and go have another cup of coffee. I thought I'd show how I clean up the windshield, and I do it on all the bikes. I've done it to this one. This one, you don't even have to take it off the bike. You just polish it right in place. I have two windshields for this bike, and this one, for some reason, it seems to stay a little, maybe it's black, and I don't know. And I have two windshields for this bike. There's the short one up there. I prefer the long one, even though the shorter one is nicer for taking video. So I'm going to pull the windshield off and go downstairs and show what I do because we don't need the windshield on a bike anymore. And I think, for all purposes, the riding season is, well, this is not the prime time of year. And the nice thing is the windshields come right on and off, of course. So, and I do like to keep the maintenance up on them. I really don't like to, it annoys me when I see a scratch in or a bug on it or something that's, I know I don't have to deal with. Now without the windshield, I have an option here. I can laminate some nice clear carbon fiber material over that. That's one choice. Or I can make this shiny black, leave this the way it is, paint this shiny black, I've got choices within choices here. Don't need to make that decision today, but I do want to start thinking about it. And I also have to make the block off plate. So every time I take a part of this motorcycle into the cellar, I feel like, and like I said, we're about a month into this now, it's really starting to come together in my mind. So step one, 4CR. May as well do the whole thing. Very seldom do you get a scratch inside the windshield. But if you do this every once in a while, it gets rid of all the little scratches, and you really buy yourself a nice clean windshield, if nothing else. Now, one of the things that'll always make for a nicer job is they're a couple of bucks each, and don't try to use up the old pad. And what happens is, what I found anyway, any old compound, it just dries up and it tends to scratch. This, you put a little extra material on that 4CR, and these seem to work fine. The microfiber ones work, but when you're done, if I'm going to spend a half an hour or so buffing this, I don't want to waste my time. Well, in the end, just a little bit of maintenance, 5-10 minutes. We've got rid of just all the road wear and tear. For all purposes, this is a brand new windshield now. So at the end of every workday, I like to make sure I've looked around, made sure I haven't left any parts out. Boy, that looks great. I'm real happy with the way that looks. The paint, of course, dried up out in the garage. It's down in the house now, baking under the heating vent. That's a given. That'll buff out. And there's Luciano telling me the dog bit him again. We had one little test that we put behind us. Not sure when we pull this apart tomorrow how it's going to be. And we had one test that worked out a lot better than I thought it did. So actually, that was a little surprise. And the free bonus, we got the windshield scratches out. And that heat is on. These parts are going to be cooking. Boy, I'll tell you, at this point, and again, we're a month into it, it just gets more exciting by the day. Now, one thing I know for sure, I'm going to sleep well tonight, knowing that gold paint is drying. And that gold paint is such a focal point of this restoration. And I'm really, really happy the way that worked out. Anyway, we did have a great shop day. We're a little further ahead on helping Karen decorate the house. And we're going to Uncle Giuseppe's shopping right now. So think of me, I know Luciano will be, I'll be buying up some of that great Italian food, And tonight, manja. Anyway, hope you enjoyed Uncle Giuseppe's. Hope you enjoyed the video, and again, thanks for watching.